correct? I go, yes, but what can I say? And I keep thinking, I gotta screen this in, and I never do. So, yeah, well,
All right, everyone, I'd like to
haven't
call
learned
the
yet,
meeting
so-
to order and ask you to all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Molly, if you'd be so kind to help us with the roll call.
Sure thing. Commissioner Iker?
Here.
Commissioner Cahalan? Here. Commissioner Hausman?
Here.
Commissioner Jasinski?
Here.
Commissioner Merrick?
Here.
Commissioner Schultz? Here. Commissioner Weiler?
Here.
Mayor Atwell?
Present. All right, thank you very much. We will move on to number 4, minutes.
Move to approve the minutes from April 27th.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. We'll move on to item number 5, citizens' comments on consent agenda items only. Anybody like to make citizens' comments for anything on the consent agenda? Seeing none, the consent agenda, citizens' comments are now closed. We'll move on to number 6, the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the items on a consent agenda.
I'll second and comment that all the write-ups were great. I loved all the information, so there's very few questions, so I'm all good.
Excellent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. So if you are 6A, B, C, D, E, or F, you are approved and can leave unless you'd like to stay for the rest of the meeting. We always have somebody that at the end of the meeting is still sitting here that didn't realize that they were on the consent agenda. All righty, we will move on to number 7, public hearing. A, public hearing number 1. Topic, special exception from section 52-199 of zoning code, side yard setback, 1037 Milwaukee Street, Peter Keck. Applicant same. Matter, special exception to construct a screened porch with the side yard setback on the non-conforming lot. Is there anyone that would like to speak to public hearing number 1? Public hearing number 1. All right, public hearing number 1 is now closed. Public hearing number 2, 7B, topic, zoning code text amendment related to creation of a new central business district CBD-4 and related provisions. Applicant, City of Delafield Planning Commission. Matter, zoning code text amendment related to the creation of a new central business district CBD-4 and related provisions. Sections to be amended include section 52-111, zoning district 52-112, summary of lot area, width, setback, and yard requirements, and 52-231 signs. Is there anyone that would like to speak to public hearing number 2? Come on up. We're glad you come, Marcia.
26 Genesee Street.
Start getting into the microphone so it's on recording.
Okay.
Thank you.
I come regarding
Your name and address and everything. I'm sorry, because you came up.
Marcia Stocks, 226 Genesee Street.
Thank you.
Okay. I come thanking you for listening to all of our concerns. And my last concern is regarding the structure at 124 Genesee Street being included at this point because I understand that the owner has both parcels, but the one that really caused all of this is the one on the corner of Genesee and Poplar Path, which I'm not objecting to any kind of commercial that has been planned and presented here, but I don't like to see the domino effect regarding that structure, that home at 124 Genesee Street.
Great, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public hearing number 2? Seeing none? Oh, come on up. Just got in under the
I
bell.
was sure somebody else wanted to talk. Susie Thompson, 700 Milwaukee Street. Similar to what Marcia said, I understood at the last meeting with the Common Council that the dentist wanted to build on the vacant lot. And my notes that I made during the meeting were that she said the house next door, which she also owns, which is a separate tax key, she intended to keep that. But before you tonight is to change the zoning on both that home as well as the vacant lot to the special use, and could be an opportunity for her then to build the dentist office, tear down the house, and then make both of those into the property for the dentist office. I believe we should be clear and transparent about what's being planned and what the intention is, and it probably would be better understood by the neighbors is where you're going with things and what you're doing with the zoning in the neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments for public hearing number 2? Come on up.
Michelle Kelly. I own the lot and 124 Genesee Street. Just to clarify, I have no intention of changing the residential plan for the home. It will continue to be a residential property. I have renters that are in there, and we fixed it up to keep it as a rental property. The lot will be used just for the dental office, but because we do own both lots and the home, you know, from future references, if something would change in the area and we had that zoning, it would just allow us to have that capability of selling the home. But I have no intention of changing it. It will continue to stay a home. So just to clarify with the neighbors, it will continue to be a buffer. We plan to also do some work to the house and try to improve it to make it nicer for the renters that are in there. So.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. Any other comments to public hearing number 2? Hearing none, public hearing number 2 is now closed. We'll move on to 8, citizens' comments on items other than the consent agenda, items and public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to speak to anything else on or off the agenda? Anyone else? Seeing none, citizens' comments are now closed, and we'll get into unfinished business. 9A, DELC 0787995, 1037 Milwaukee Street. Owner and applicant Peter Keck. Applicant seeks approval for special exception to convert an existing patio into a screened porch on a non-conforming lot that does not meet side yard setback. Can we have the applicant come up, please?
Good evening, Peter Keck, 1037 Milwaukee Street.
Great. Amy, you want to give us an overview where
Sure.
we're at today?
I'll be super quick because the applicant was here at last month's meeting where the project was explained. But this property is on the north side of Milwaukee Street, just northwest of Fireman's Park. They are proposing a 256 square foot porch attached to the back of their house. The proposed porch would not be located any closer to the lot line than the existing home, but it is 7.3 or 7 foot 3 inches from the side lot line, whereas 15 feet is required. Because the lot is non-conforming in width, they are able to come to Plan Commission for a special exception for that review and approval, provided it is not any closer to the lot line, which it's not. The adjacent property to the west is vacant, so there's no structures there impacted at this time. The addition is pretty minor in nature, and let's see if I can go to the addition will be compatible with the existing home. So I just have in my report that I recommend approval of the proposed request as presented, subject to the special exception being recorded with the Waukesha County Register of Deeds prior to the issuance of a building permit in accordance with section 52-199-4H of the zoning code, so that it's a requirement of the new language that they record it.
Alrighty.
No comments, huh?
Then we need a motion.
I was gonna do that. Did you have a comment, Tim?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed request. I think it fits in perfectly with what the intended zoning calls for, and you're not asking us to do anything crazy, so I'm good. So I'll make a motion to approve it as presented.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion?
Me, the guy who forgot. Guy at the end of the road. They moved you
Is there any
over,
discussion?
sorry.
Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention passes.
How'd I get the
Good luck
vote?
with your
What did I do?
construction.
Thank you.
I got demoted.
All right, we will move on to 9B, DLC 0782001001, 1807 Nagawicca Road, owner Walker Point Property LLC, Jay Franks and David Hero, applicant Peter Damsgaard, architect. Applicant seeks approval to exceed the height requirements for cupolas and weather vanes. Name and address?
Peter Damsgaard, 11739 North Shore Cliff Lane, Mequon, Wisconsin.
Can you give us an overview, please, Amy?
Sure, so they also were here for concept consideration for their interior, or their exterior remodeling, rather. They have not submitted their formal application to get site plan and appearance review. They're probably coming back in June, is that correct?
That is correct.
For that, but right now, they are proposing to get approval to have the weather vane and cupolas taller than the building height, which you can approve subject to Plan Commission recommendation to Common Council. So that would give them the opportunity to stay on track, because they would go to Common Council next month along with the Plan Commission approval for all of the remodeling. And really what they have is the top of the weather vane is 14.67 feet above the peak of the roof. And the top of the cupola is 8.5 feet above the peak of the roof. The peak of the building itself is 42 feet 6 inches above the average road grade, whereas 45 feet is allowed. So the building complies and is below by a couple of feet, and then you have those accessory structures above that. So my recommendation is at your discretion, really what you find to be aesthetically pleasing, but whatever motion you make should be a recommendation to Common Council.
So do we need to approve a specific height here?
I
Or
think you
just
could
the
say
fact
as
that we're-
presented. I mean, if you wanted to say as proposed or presented, he's got the height noted on the plans.
Okay.
I mean, I
So
think
what-
I
and what is
measured
it,
this
52
accurately.
You just had it up there, 52.7 or something?
You could say,
0.6.
you could say, well, if you
Well,
wanted to
that-
say the weather vane at 14.67 feet above the peak and cupola 8.5 feet above the peak, you could, or you could say as presented to the Plan Commission on May 25th.
So my question would be, is there any intention to change, alter scale or anything else?
Nope, at this point, what you see is what we're intending to build.
Give him some flexibility.
Yeah, no, I say I don't want to.
Don't hold him to the inch.
That's what I mean. So if there was something that showed up as far as scale proportions or whatever else that still stayed below a certain height that we'd be approving to exceed to, I mean, I'd be open to do that, to say that, give you some flexibility if someone has a great idea that I don't want to stifle it and make it go through this again.
The cupola, I was wondering if at that bottom part, if they couldn't lower that a little. Make maybe that light gray part, half that, to bring the height down a little bit.
Still gonna exceed though.
Still gonna exceed.
Yeah,
It's part of the character of their building. It's,
Yeah, I
it's
like it the way it
huge,
is.
and
Yeah, I
it's
think
a
it-
big
yeah.
building.
I think
It's
it
very
tames
The
down.
scale
professional.
looks good.
Yeah. Just a
Why
thought.
do we have to do this kind of one-off? Is it just because of the project timing and how you do it? Like, why is it the weather?
Not
vane?
with the formal proposal. Well, they want to make sure that this part gets approved so that it's part of their formal package.
Got it.
And just the cupola and weather vane height needs to go to Common Council. The rest of the site plan review does not go to council at all.
All right, well, how about this? I'll make a motion to approve an exception to allow the excessive height for the decorative elements of the plan up to 15 feet above the roof for the top of the center cupola and 9 feet above the peak for the cupolas on the sides.
What did you say, 9 feet?
And recommend to council. Just giving them some, whatever, 8 inches of latitude maybe.
And I would second it.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, it's very nice.
And then that, just to clarify, that'd be contingent upon our final plan appearance review coming back to council.
Molly, do
I
you
mean,
need,
to the
read
commission.
that back, or just to make sure? Or? Sure.
Okay, so I have to recommend Common Council approve the request to exceed the height requirements up to 9 feet for the cupolas and 15 feet for the weather vane contingent upon Plan Commission approval of the final site plan.
And that's a recommendation to council.
Yeah, to recommend Common Council approve.
Just have a quick question for our history people here. With the cupolas and things that we have in downtown Delafield, I'm not recalling us making an approval of those separately. Does anybody recall doing that, whether we did or didn't do it? Anybody recall it?
I thought the zoning allowed
I did too.
for that. It was just to the roof.
Right, we
And I
were
didn't-
very specific.
Any,
Okay. It doesn't hurt, we're doing it,
that's
but I was
what
just
remember
curious.
downtown was.
Because I don't remember doing
Yeah,
it.
there's
but-
spires that go way
Way
above
above them, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, I
all
mean,
right. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. We'll see you at City Council.
Thank you.
9C, DELC 0798001, 600 Milwaukee Street, owner DMK Investments LLC, Matt Kowalski, applicant Jola Franzak. Applicant seeks site plan and appearance review approval to recommend the exterior of the building that contains Kowalski Kitchen and Bath. Do we have the applicant here? Yes. We have both of them. If you could give us your name and address, please.
Jola Franzak, 600 Milwaukee Street, in Delafield.
Tom Luck, 600 Milwaukee Street, representing Kowalski Kitchen and Bath.
Great, thank you. Amy, overview?
Okay, so this property is in the southeast corner of the intersection of Milwaukee Street and Genesee Street. Yola came in 2021, if you remember, I think 2 separate meetings. The first meeting, there was some feedback, and then at the second meeting, the Plan Commission did like the design quite a bit, with a few comments related to whether or not the clock was necessary. There was a decorative clock on the building, and the overhang at that intersection corner, not having posts and kind of looking like it was floating, and whether or not it should have something that just makes it look a little more aesthetic and provide support. So those were the comments at the meeting. They do need site plan and appearance review, and just a reminder, this is part of the downtown design district, and so there are several criteria that have to be met that are specified in the staff report. If you have any questions regarding that, we can go over it again. We did go through that at the last meeting, and the Plan Commission did feel that they were meeting those standards pretty closely. I think there was a little discussion regarding the vertical versus horizontal.
And the mayor was wrong.
Siding, and, there's a mix of that type of siding downtown, I believe was the final discussion on that. So I'll go to their proposed plan, and then if you want to see what you reviewed at the last meeting, I believe I have that on my screen also. Not in the packet, but in my screen. And then I should point out too, on this design, they have new signage proposed. Her proposal did not include permanent signage. I don't know the size and if it complies with the code. So if they do want signage, they would need to come back for approval for that.
So we're not approving the signs in the pictures?
You're not approving the signs in the pictures as part of this review. And I don't know, the description of the materials are in the packet, and I think, Yola, did you bring a live material board?
Yes.
So maybe I'll just pass this over to you if you want to discuss what you're proposing, and I'll scroll through these pictures a little bit. It's the coloring of the white and dark has changed a little bit, I think, from the last meeting.
No, the colors, no. The
Okay.
colors actually didn't change. Yeah, it's the same. It's like the really dark charcoal with the white, like off-white. It's not like white, bright white. It's like the off-white.
Okay.
Yes, but otherwise, no. The colors didn't change. And it still is the vertical and horizontal. So it's like, you guys like it, I remember?
Do you, can you describe why you didn't decide to put the posts on the entry canopy?
I can take that. We felt, number one, that if we were to keep the canopy, it's going to be a floating, not a floating canopy, but we have to cantilever off the building with it. And by putting a post there, they'd either have to be floating, or we'd have to tear that sidewalk up and put in some type of a foundation for the post. And we felt that in the winter, it would be an obstruction for shoveling and things like that. And we felt that it didn't help our design by having a post there, that we wanted to keep that look that we have on the awning, so-called awning.
We're still looking for the company who is gonna do this awning. It wasn't too easy with do this with copper, so we didn't kind of find any company that's go with the copper. So we like had to change a little bit design, adjust, and we still are looking at the company that the pricing as this kind of awning that it doesn't look like awning. So we want, if it's possible, we're gonna do like from the kind of metal. If not, we're gonna, because this corner is really difficult to make.
We want to keep the radius on the, because we
Yes.
have the radius stairs, we want to keep the radius on the awning.
And it's kind of difficult to achieve this design here.
Right.
So we also thinking about the fabric, but like the really like nice fabric, sturdy fabric that doesn't look like the cheap awning with the. So we kind of got also the companies that looking for us.
I think it looks very clean. I like the Delafield logo on the south side of the building.
Is that part of the signage, though, that would come back?
Well, so I was going to ask you all about that, if you're okay with, it's a black, I'm assuming a black logo. I don't know if other people have done that on their buildings, if that's something that can be done, and in the
Wait,
color
what
black.
are we talking about?
So if they're proposing the Delafield
Oh, yeah,
sailboat logo
yeah.
on the building?
Tim, you didn't like the clock. Do you like the sailboats?
Yeah, I remember the
Well, with
clerk
the-
wasn't too excited,
Okay.
so I kind of want to guys you bribe and make some
Thank you.
This is all on you.
Maybe a sundial?
So I am not,
Put that on a wall?
I only have a set of eyes, okay, and an opinion, I'm not a designer. So I just comment that this is not necessarily a nautical building, and I don't know, I mean, I'm not sure that I'd almost prefer to see the Kowalski name on there than the sailboats.
Oh, yeah,
From
my
a sign,
boss would love it, yeah.
like a signed brand, because that's what the building is.
Okay.
Just remember, they're only going to be allowed so many
I
square
know,
feet,
but I mean,
and that's
to
with
have
all
it
it
be
wrapped around the awnings. They're probably going to use that
more
all
like
up.
this is just like I said, it's my opinion.
Okay.
I don't, and I love, I love the fact we're promoting the Delafield brand, but I don't know that's necessary on the building in that way. Like I said, I think Kowalski says a lot more about, and also it gives direction to people coming from the south.
True.
That is where the building is. They don't have to wait for the awning. They know that they can park anywhere real close there. Just a thought, and you could do it in a way that made it look like era appropriate
Yeah.
with a style sign that would fit.
Does Kowalski
That-
have a logo?
Well, yeah, it looks like
Well, they-
it's this, if you look right here on the left.
Yes.
Guess you could always use the
that
logo.
may be something that would make sense.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And I really appreciate the fact that you're maintaining the lines of the building and all that stuff. It's a bold in particular on like page 95.
I like it.
Of the packet, like that. It looks like a monolithic pillar on the left side, on the east side of the building. I don't know if there's a reason to not have that broken up like the other window and give it balance that way. Like I said, my comment.
Are you speaking of the box bay?
So,
black?
right in
This
the
long
middle,
one
yeah,
here?
right
Yeah.
there. So,
Yeah.
why that wouldn't have the white on the bottom and then have the window separated like the one on the right is. It strikes me as kind of a bold statement as opposed to in keeping with the architecture, but.
I question even why does it bump out? You know, today it just bumps out on the second floor. Is that for storage or it's just
No,
empty
we're-
space?
We're trying to, the current box bays are on an angle out, and we feel that's a dated look, that we want to square that off more.
Yeah.
And when we did, Yola felt we should bring that all the way down to enhance it more than just have it hanging there as a,
Yeah.
When I look at it, I feel like a window should be in there on that first
well,
floor.
we'd really like to, but
Really, yeah.
Difficult.
it's right in the middle of our displays inside.
That's what I assumed.
Yeah.
I think it looks nice.
Would it?
I like it.
That might be a good area to put a logo,
Yeah.
right there.
Or
More
or
sign
the big
space.
square.
Guys.
one.
Sign space.
No, I get that.
There's a lot of signs.
I'm just saying from so we do have, if there's a historical section of downtown, this is it. I mean, this intersection here, and there's a lot of effort from even the new building that's going in across the street to make it look like it's not a new building.
Yes.
This is taking an
Yes.
old building, trying to make it look like a new building, and so there's a little bit of a. I don't know that boxing that window in and leaving the bottom white wouldn't be a good idea, and.
Actually, we kind of try to mix a little bit this design with other ideas and don't make a box down. But this line, I think this line of the awning is like this sleek and straight. So it's gonna like they cut this building on a half. And I don't know. I think it's.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It'll look like a hole.
Yes, it's gonna look like it's really heavy. The top and not so light the bottom, so I kind of.
It does draw
And
the
if you
eye
go back
up
to
though, too.
page 94, you can see how they're trying to make it symmetric from the angle. So there are two boxes, one
True.
on either
Yes,
side.
this is also yes.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
And I think
There you can
compared
see
to
it.
what
because
it
this
is,
corner actually the most you see when you're driving and when you cross the street. So
I see, Tim, what you're saying. Certainly, you're making an older building look new as opposed to the opposite. But if I compare it to what's there now, one of the things that strikes me is a little bit like a lot of lake homes. Started out as one building, and you kind of added a little bit to it and added something else to it. I thought the new design did a really nice job of trying to work with that floor space and make it look like
One big
one thing.
I
building
hear you.
instead of multiples
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I too, I like the look of the bump outs going all the way down. It adds to the, it adds to what you're seeing there.
Right.
Do you have that smoky material board?
yes,
What
we
are-
do.
what is
We
the
actually
material?
was looking a lot for materials that. I got a couple pictures how it looks our materials, and I have all the colors so you guys can see. And it's a totally new material that is on the market. I can pass.
Start there. Start
Sure,
there.
you can start here.
Yes, and it's a metal, but actually it doesn't look like metal on the pictures. So you can guys see.
What's on there now? Is it vinyl now? And a lot of it?
Tom,
It's all vinyl.
Yeah.
and yeah, and
Is
Tom
it-
know
is it
a lot
actually
of the.
This is a steel product.
Yeah.
What is the steel?
No, and I'll make two other comments. One is, I'm glad we've got a company like Kowalski on the corner decide to make this Delafield their home, and you're not. None of this looks cheap.
No.
This is no one's going on
I
the.
like that.
No one's saving money to do this. You're making an upgrade on the building. I
they go
get that and I
together well.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I think so too.
And that product, we'd run it horizontally and vertically.
Looks nice. I like it. I like things that are simple.
Yeah.
So Can you clarify the awning there to the north and to the east, and then I guess to the south as well? You mentioned maybe metal. So what kind? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not familiar with metal roofs downtown. Or we got metal roofs downtown?
Not that I'm aware of. I know there are some houses near downtown that have them.
Yeah.
Does it? Okay,
Is that copper? Black. Okay.
okay.
We kind of don't want to look this awning like this roof like the roof because it's really small, like 2 feet the wide. So it's more like for making the nice statement and this design that doesn't look like only awning. Yes,
Yeah.
so it's only something that go into in the building. And it's go with the old design, so it doesn't look like the typical awning.
Yeah.
Especially it's downtown and.
I know that metal roofs last.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just trying
Tremendously, and
to
they're-
consider the architectural
Yeah.
style of it, and it would be black, whatever kind of metal.
No, it'd be the wood grain product that the one panel is. We'd make it out of the same material and bend it to look like a standing seam roof.
Okay. So the wood material would be the top of the awnings.
Right, and the far panel that you're looking at there, the far left of the showroom would be the same material.
And what about the south side of the house?
Excuse me?
Building, south side?
The south side?
Is that the one with the Delafield logo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
this
south
is that?
side, that's going to be a shingle roof to match the
Shingle.
roof above.
yeah, they're matching the top roof. Yes, it's gonna be the same one.
And we're extending that all the way across to try and make it more symmetrical and
And then I just had one other comment, and maybe it's the software that you're using here, but I noticed that you have a number of downlights in the soffits that are coming down. At least one of the renderings shows downlighting.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I'm not thinking that we have other businesses that have downlighting in downtown Delafield
Okay.
all night or part of the night. It's usually relatively dark. Does somebody remember something different?
What does the Belfry have? They're uplighting their sign on the steeple, right?
Yeah, uplighting the sign. My concern is, we don't want a light bulb. I mean, I know it's down, which is good.
Okay.
But we wouldn't
yeah.
want like your building glowing all night long.
Oh no, it's not the idea for the building to glowing. No, no, it's there's 2 decoration lamps that I add in the building.
Can you find that
and
picture where it
actually
shows
it's in
the
like
light
soffit,
spread?
really
There's,
soffit, really soft lights on the soffit. So
Yeah, just ambient lighting.
I got
kind of like moonlighting.
There you go.
105 there.
There you
yeah
go.
here.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be
Oh, so those are exterior lights that are pointing down. They're
Yes,
not
on the
they're not in the
sidewalk.
soffits?
And it's
Yes.
not gonna be so strong like on a picture. I wanted to show you guys how it's gonna go and lighten it down, but it's not gonna be such a strong light like here you see.
So can you help me out and make sure you put dimmers on all those switches so that if you do have control of it?
No problem. Can you have a dimmers?
You can dim anything, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
But there is lighting proposed in the soffits, though, it looks like
Yeah.
on the
Yes.
corners of the
Right,
building.
that's what I'm saying, have the ability to dim all of the soffit lights.
But the soffit lights are really, really soft. They are like really, they don't make such a big. I want, it's more for you see how the light is gonna go down.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be such a strong light like you see on a design. It's more I made for you so you guys see the lines of the light so you can see
Yeah.
how it's gonna be. But it's not gonna be so strong, no. It's not.
I'm used to seeing that in a residential neighborhood. I'm not used to seeing that downtown historic
And
Delafield.
we don't need use these lights, no, but I I can cancel it.
I think if you dim them, at least you have control. I don't know if anybody else has additional concerns
It's
on
like
that.
one that like because the downtown is pretty dark at night, so that's why I kind of was thinking that maybe we should think in Delafield to have some
Kind of a night light.
lighting, but
You're gonna have a big building across the street with lights going up 3 stories.
Yes, right.
A lot of windows, I don't know. Anyway.
it's
I got my dimmers.
The dimmers are appropriate.
it's really is going to be soft light, and like I said, I can leave only this decorated like the vintage lights only on the sides of the window. I don't need to use the soffit light. If you guys,
If you can dim them, I can live
Okay.
with it. I can live
we're
with
gonna
it.
dim.
Good. Yeah, I don't have a problem.
Any other discussion? Anybody looking to make a motion?
Is there a motion to be made?
Yeah, is
Yes.
This is site plan and appearance review. So I left this one and the previous one at your discretion because they're really architectural. It's really based on how you feel about it. So I didn't want to say yes or no.
So our motion would be.
But you could make a motion to approve the site plan as presented with signage coming back for review and approval and dimmers being put on the lights, right? And then I don't know, do you care about the logo?
And just, I'd say include, if
In the
there's a motion,
signage?
include that in the signage approval.
Okay.
And signage colors too. You've got in here too also, it should include scale and color.
Well, when she come, it's more of a note for her. When they come
Oh,
back,
Okay, okay. I'll make a motion then to approve the site plan as presented and return of approval for signage.
With dimmers?
Yeah, with dimmers?
With dimmers on the soffit
exterior-
lights?
Do we want to put that in there?
Exterior
Yeah.
lights?
With dimmers.
On the exterior soffit
On the
lights?
exterior down lighting.
Okay.
And in the boat logo as part of the signage plan.
I have a problem with that because is it a sign or is it a
Just
decoration?
It'd be part of the follow-up.
Okay, all right, and add in the boat logo or company logo? What would it be?
As
Either
part
of
of
them
the
are
sign.
signage.
Either one.
Okay, either one, signage. It still falls under signage. Return for the signage.
What'd you think, Molly?
Approve the site plan and appearance review as presented with dimmers being put on the exterior downlighting and any signage, including the proposed logo, come back for separate approval.
Beautiful, thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Bob seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Thank you for your
Thank you
time.
very much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Okay, we'll move on to 9D, DLC 0781989004 and DLC 0781989005.
Thank you.
Unknown address on Nagawicka Road East, owner Joe's Legacy Farms LLC, applicant John Spears. Applicant is requesting the planning commission approve the planned unit development, specific implementation plan for our conservation type single-family subdivision. Names and addresses, gentlemen.
John Spears, S1W33857, Abbott's Road, Oconomowoc.
Rob Davey, Lake Country Engineering, 970 South Silver Lake Street, Oconomowoc.
Amy, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Okay, so with this development, we're simply looking at the specific implementation plan for the conditional use. You've already received, or they have already received approval to amend the land use plan for the property zoning and the conditional use general development plan and also the preliminary plat. So the SIP does need to go through you and then also Common Council. And the final plat will be presented at a future meeting, but the SIP approval gives them the opportunity to start construction out on the site. And so the SIP is the detailed review for the development. So I think we could probably just go straight to the different things that you're supposed to be looking at. So they need to submit a detailed stormwater management utility connection plan, public road improvement construction plans, trail construction plans, and grading plans. These have been reviewed by the engineer. Most comments have been addressed. They just have a few. And primarily, what you will probably care about is the engineering staff, and we can look at it on the landscape plan, was concerned about some of the trees being planted in the drainage swales. They shouldn't be in the drainage swale areas. And then they are also, if you look in the north, I'll call it the northwest corner here, they will be grading in pretty steep slopes. And I believe Public Works discussed this, Dan, and wanted the Plan Commission to take a look at the disturbance of steep slopes. Actually, the zoning code does say that slopes greater than 25% shall be preserved, which some of these areas are. If you look, their engineer, Rob Davey, did submit an updated letter. It was in the packet, but he submitted an updated one. It shows the area of 25% slopes. And then Plan Commission does have the ability to grant an exception if it's necessary for the development to occur and does not alter the topographic character of the site. Our engineering staff did review their proposed stability, and they do believe that the site can be stabilized with the methods that are proposed here. But I guess it's more of a decision on whether or not you feel the alteration of grades is appropriate. They're not proposing a lighting plan. That would be done by individual lot owners. There won't be any street lighting. They do have a landscape plan. Let's see. So they are proposing quite a few trees, some shrubs, and the open space areas will be planted in a no-mow grass type mix. They have, like a nice little on the south side, like a walkway that'll be tree lined that takes you to, is that a bench, like a little bench area? And then they have an orchard on the south side. Unfortunately, some of these trees, again, they're actually in those drainage swales, so they'll have to be removed from the site.
Those will be removed.
What's that?
They'll be removed.
Okay. And then we did get a couple of letters. I don't know if you saw those.
Yep.
With one of the neighbors, John, I don't know if you saw the letters, but you had agreed to plant some trees behind their property, and they are suggesting that you are not doing that. And then another owner would like to see you remove all buckthorn on the property. And my comment regarding that is that's very hard to manage.
Yeah.
And so typically, the city isn't in a position of requiring somebody to remove all invasive species. I mean, it's certainly helpful to manage it to some degree, but long-term, that's hard for us to manage and regulate and for them to do.
Excuse me, Amy, we did agree to plant trees behind the neighbors, so if you could let me know maybe later who the neighbor was, and we can contact them.
It is Jason Harned. So I see you have some, are all 6 of these proposed, and then these 2 and 2 more here?
He referenced lot 24 and just mentioned a couple evergreen trees for
Yeah.
that spot.
Yeah, I'd say, just going back to the initial,
Yeah, he
the
does.
preliminary presentation even, and seeing who's going to be most affected, as far as the neighbors. And I appreciate the distances when you're a football field and a half away. It doesn't seem like a lot, but they're used to cornfields and sunsets, and they're going to get houses. So yeah, that corner, that southeast corner for lots, for the homes abutting lots, 24, 23, and 22 in that corner. We need some more robust, non-deciduous trees in there that.
And not blue spruce.
Whatever it's called for, but to strategically put them so that they're filling the gaps in that to create a screening. So I don't know how to put that in a motion. I don't know if it's 4 trees or 8 trees, but we need something in that corner for that.
We will
those
do
neighbors.
that, and the other things, we don't put in small trees, we bring spaded evergreens.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and so the other concern is that since that's shared open space for the community, it's not on lots. It's not something you can manage with a requirement for certain plantings for the homeowner, and it's something you could do right out of the gate when you do the grading, right? I mean, so.
Yeah, so you could call out the lots in the motion and refer to staff for sufficient.
So John, if you look at the yellow
Year-round
highlighted
screening.
property, that's the owner that would like more plantings.
But he's on the corner, I think we had multiple letters.
You
And
had
it's a
said
concern.
22, 23, 24.
Yeah, lots 22, 23, and 24 in that corner.
Okay.
I'm sure it's just, it's been brought up, I'm sure it's just, you've had a couple other details, right?
We'll follow through.
So did you want that to come back here, or you want
No.
staff to review it?
It's a staff review, you understand the intent, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
And that can be done before, I'd prefer it be done before council. Okay. Then, let's see, tree cutting and mitigation plans. They're actually only cutting two native trees that are on the protected list. I should state they are cutting what is along Nagawicca Road. But that must all be invasive because you're not
Those are all
counting.
invasive species.
Mostly
We're
junk.
saving all the larger, good trees.
Farmers don't usually plant nice trees along their fields.
So these, I don't know if you can see these.
There's 4 of them that are decent, that we're saving.
Okay. So there's just these 2 trees in the, on the south side with the red X's that are being removed. They are going to be planting, and this number might change based on the fact that some of those trees are in the drainage swale and they need to remove them or relocate them, but they're planting a total of 429 caliper inches, which is well above what they're removing, which only totaled 17 inches. So they really do not need to pay inland mitigation fees, and there is some wiggle room for them to lose some trees out there. And then signage, similar to Hawthorne Farm. They will have the fencing along the road, and then they will have columns at the entrance roads, and this little name plaque for the subdivision name. So the columns will be 2.5 feet wide by 7 feet long, and then this decorative top. They did submit a developer's agreement, and that is currently being reviewed by the city attorney. I believe she's been working with the applicant's attorney, so that will need to be finalized prior to common council. They do have included subdivision restrictions. They've got restrictions related to construction method, size, limited improvements, owner maintenance, common area restrictions. I do have a note in here that'll need to be cleaned up before council. The open space management plan that they've submitted regarding management of the open areas states that there's isolated natural resource restrictions, but they don't appear to exist. So we just need to make sure that that gets added in appropriately.
I've modified the note to read that there's restrictions that'll be noted on the plat. And
Okay.
then that agreement, John's gonna put, I believe in the deed restrictions as an appendix or an addendum.
Okay,
And then
perfect.
officially, yeah, but I've taken the, I just wanna make sure that people knew in multiple places that there are restrictions in that isolated natural resource.
Okay.
And those will show up on the final plat.
And we have notified the attorney also to add it to the deed restrictions.
Okay. So that's very similar to what Hawthorne Farm did, by the way. So the recommendation is to recommend that Common Council conditionally approve the specific implementation plan components as described in this report, subject to final review and approval of all required plans and documents by the city administrator, planner, surveyor, engineer, and city attorney as necessary, including the following: final review of the detailed stormwater management, utility connection plans, public road improvement construction plans, trail construction plans, and grading plan, stormwater management plan and maintenance agreement, developers agreement, and any necessary financial assurances, open space management plan, subdivision declaration of restrictions and covenants, and the final plat. That's just prior to the sale of the lots. I don't specifically spell out the landscape plan, but that is something that will need to be modified before going to Common Council. And then once everything is finalized and approved, I'll send out a specific implementation plan document that spells out the approved plan dates so that it's clear in the future. And then, I don't know, Dan, was there anything else you wanted to share from Public Works, or do you feel that it needs to go? I don't believe Mike Court didn't feel that it probably needed to go back to Public Works.
I was absent at that meeting, but I
Oh.
did talk to Art Bauman, who presided in my absence, and yeah, pretty much what you said. It was an extensive list. They were on the border of whether to approve that conditionally or not, but they're okay with going ahead and having Mike take care of all those items. And I don't know, Rob, have you been addressing those items?
Everything's been addressed except for the steep slopes, and that everybody thought should come to this body and discussion, and we need to hear from you whether you want it or not. So all the other comments have been addressed. I walked the horse path with Mike, the bridle trail. We went back and forth on a few things. We added some stuff. He's pretty happy with it. I would like that path to be closed down during construction and through the fall, so we get good vegetation growing. No matter what work we do on that, if it gets disturbed and ripped up before the seed takes, it's just gonna turn into the same thing that we have. So if we can get that growing for a good half a season, open it up in the spring after the thaws, I think it'll really help with that bridle path, given the shade, the nature of what it's going to be used for, and things like that.
Did Mike object to that?
No.
Oh, okay.
He liked it. But he couldn't say yes.
Okay. All right.
The slope treatment I'm okay with and confident that'll work.
If you want some explanation on that, we've got roughly a 3,000 square foot area where I just couldn't get the slopes flatter to get the right pond sizes in, so we met our stormwater management. We are planting that low grow, no mow, so maintenance isn't gonna be as big a deal. It's not like a mower's gonna be out there once a week mowing it. It's more like once or twice a year, if that. Once a year for sure, but twice. And I'm putting in what's called a North American Green SB 150, which is a coconut mat, which is designed to last for 2 years before it degrades. And the last page of that little document I just brought shows North American Green's calculator that with that matting, the 2.5 to 1 slopes will be stabilized, and then once the vegetation takes off, it'll also be stabilized for that. This is a case where we don't have a whole lot of other flow flowing across it, so it's pretty much what rain drops is going to flow down it. It's not a swale that's going to pick up 100 acres in area. It's that 3,000 square feet, and that's it. I also felt if we put a retaining wall down by the infiltration pond, that could be a bigger hazard, more falling off it, things like that, than the steeper slopes for that little area.
There's an awful lot of highway slopes that are 2.5 to 1 or even steeper, so I think that works fine.
I don't know if you want an overview of some of the other things we went through at Public Works. One item is our path connection to the south. The new homeowners aren't exactly being cooperative to get the 10 to 12 foot easement that we want to get an 8-foot path in with room to rebuild it, maintain. I've talked with our contractors. We can get it in the 10 feet. We're gonna have a foot on either side of it to work with. And when we get towards the bottom of it, instead of having a nice sweeping bend, it's gonna be more of a 90-degree bendish, 45. So that was just the one thing that's kind of out of our control at this point. They are gonna give us that little, I think that Mike is working on getting that little easement. But that's, we all thought we were gonna get a little wider easement for construction. I just wanted you to be aware of that they don't wanna give us that.
Not even a temporary one to help you build it? Okay.
And they've already have 3 trees planted there, pine trees. We were well with outside of those. When we initially talked to them, they were on board with it, and all of a sudden, they just didn't like it. I don't know.
It'll slow people down.
I think those are all the issues that really came up at Public Works, and I've been working with Brian and Mike, and plans have changed quicker than we could get people updated. But Brian is okay with all the design changes, all the design plans, with the exception of the 2.5 to 1 slopes. And I'll make those changes once I hear from you what you would like to see on them.
All right. Anybody willing to craft a motion?
Sure, I'll give it a swing. I'll make a motion to approve the, to recommend that the Common Council approve the specific implementation plan per the planner's letter for the May 25th meeting for Negawicka Heights subdivision, including her list of recommendations and staff approval of a robust non-deciduous planting array in the corner between lots 21 and 24.
And the special erosion treatment in the
And
area
of course,
of 2.5
the
to
special
1 slopes.
erosion treatment per the presenter's letter dated May 17th.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Start
Thank you very much.
digging.
Hey, Tim,
Yes.
you said subject to lots 22, 23, and 24. In your motion, you said between lots 21 and 24. So,
It's the same thing.
well, if it's between lots,
Or including.
right, I just want to make sure that the verbiage is correct, so.
I think staff's got it. I'm good with.
Behind 21 through 24?
Yeah, I'm good with behind.
Behind 21 through 24?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Alrighty, we will move on to new business. Number 10 on the agenda. A, DLC 0804994017, 2730 Heritage Drive. Owner Heritage Hillside LLC. Applicant Bill Camel, Springfield Sign, on behalf of Sears Hometown Store. Applicant seeks permanent signage approval of a wall-mounted sign and a multi-tenant panel sign for the new Sears retail store. Could you give us your name and address?
My name is Michael Prohaska from Racine, Wisconsin. I'm here on behalf of Michael's Signs. We're the sign installer in place of Springfield Sign, who is I believe, applying for the permit.
Can you please spell your last name?
Prohaska is Prochaska.
Thank you.
Amy, you want to help us out?
Okay, so Sears got business plan of operation approval at last month's meeting to operate in that, I don't know what the name of it is, the Heritage Hill multifamily.
Walmart Center.
Walmart Center, so that's the big multi-tenant building on Heritage Drive. And they needed to come back for signage, so they did. I didn't put this on the consent agenda. The wall-mounted signage does comply with the city's ordinance requirements. You've gotten away from the only allowing red, white, and maybe black. However, I just wanted you to take a close look at the panel sign that's being proposed on the Walmart sign. It's the only sign that will have that blue background, so it will stand out quite a bit more than the rest of the signs that are still have a white background with red lettering, except the Walmart Center.
Can you blow that up a little bit?
Yes.
There you go.
Can the colors be reversed? White background with blue letters?
Oh, yeah.
Of course it could be. Would you be in favor of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the sign guy. I make pretty things, and yeah, we can do any color, any way, any shape and form. I would take over 2 tenant slots if they let me, but
I would say if you approve it the way that it is, you need to consider it would be the first step of allowing them to go multiple colors in all different directions.
Do we know what they did the last time? Because they were here once before.
Oh, a long time ago.
They had a
Probably
They
for
had
the
a store
AutoZone.
in that.
No, Sears was actually in that.
Yeah,
same-
Sears was.
Yeah, Sears was there many years ago.
Yeah.
Sears Appliances, right?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what the sign
Similar.
was
I
that.
don't know.
Would it be an issue
Check
if we
this
followed
red.
what Dan suggested and allowed for the blueprint? Does that,
Sounds like a good compromise to me.
I mean, does that violate or open up doors that you want opened? If it's just blueprint with a white background?
Any
Do
color
you know
with
how
the white
difficult it was to
background.
approve a blue letter on a sign 10 years ago? Right. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would say that they'd be drawing first blood and we'd be getting different signs, but having the off-color background is gonna throw everything out of balance. And
Yeah,
you'll
it
never
just
get it back.
Doesn't look like it
Well, you
fits
know,
in
there are
there.
50
I'd say
different colors up there.
invert the colors and
Yeah.
then we're good to go, right?
I did come prepared with a inverted version.
Wow.
So
Wow.
if you'd like to see
Yeah.
paper.
Now, there's a guy on top of it.
You saw the same thing. We're not that odd.
I think he's been to the
Oh,
rodeo
yeah.
before.
That's what I'm thinking.
Thank you.
He's probably
Done
got
this
6
before.
different versions. He's waiting to read the crowd.
Yeah, that's
The
more
Walmart sign
like
is
it.
that.
This
Yeah,
crowd
that's
likes
good.
green. I'll
Colors
show
are
him. Can we see the,
Throwing
Where's the
Just
clock?
that all of them have.
And the
the
three
colors are fine,
sales.
just not the backgrounds are gonna
Oh,
make
it's
it.
up
There you go.
above.
NASCAR.
Right, right.
No, that's good.
Yeah, I like that.
I agree. It's much better. Much, much better.
Anybody got a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve
Yeah.
based on the inverted signage.
I'll second.
We're talking about the blue lettering on white
On
background.
a white
Yeah.
background.
That's
All
what he
right.
meant by inverted, as I understood
Gotcha.
it.
Yeah.
Bob,
I'm second.
yeah, Dan is second. Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Thank you very much. Thank you for being prepared.
Well done.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I just happen to have,
Regular building signage was okay,
Love
it's
it.
just the panel signage that's to be inverted.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you. We'll move on to B, DELC 0742986, W73 East Wisconsin Avenue. Owner of the Boathouse of Lake Country LLC, DELC 0742014, W127 East Wisconsin Avenue. Owner Boathouse of Lake Country Real Estate LLC. Applicant Andy Ingara. Owner Rick Hardgarten, MSI General, and Scott Bosey, Bauer Sign. Applicant seeks approval of permanent signage. Welcome. Name and address.
Andy Angara, W73 East Wisconsin Avenue.
You make it look easy. Okay, Amy.
Okay, so they also came last month for site plan approval to make some tweaks to their western building. They did propose signage, but we didn't have complete information, so we held it over to this month. Just as a refresher, a conditional use was approved in 2021 to expand the property to what you see on the screen is the pink highlighted area. And that CU approval was subject, it still hasn't been recorded because they haven't completed all of the conditions, so we do need to do that in the near future. But they had no modification to signage was allowed without approval from the Plan Commission. And then directional signage shall be installed that directs the flow of traffic and prohibits parking within the right-of-way. And that this signage needs to be reviewed and approved by Plan Commission. So what we determined is that the right-of-way is in the jurisdiction of the county, and so the county would need to approve and probably put up any signage. But the applicant did propose a plan that shows additional signage on site and then also their flow pattern. So I don't know, let's see. Does this plan match that other?
It does very much.
True site plan? Okay, this
Yep.
one's a little bit easier to see.
That one is what I call in my crayons. I did that with crayons, and then they professionally did it
Okay.
at the one above.
So it's easier to see. It's it's prettier. So on the east side, they're just going to have an in arrow and an out arrow. They can't really have signage there because the right-of-way is so close to the parking lot.
Yeah.
And so that'll be painted on the asphalt surface. And then on the west property, same thing. All of those yellow arrows are going to be painted on their asphalt surface to keep the traffic going in a circle. And then there will be signs preventing traffic from going to the east site from the west site, because this whole back area is intended for the employees only. So then they have several signs proposed. So on that west side, you're going to see the entrance and exit signs. And they are going to be 8 square feet in size and 4-foot tall posts. Because these are directional signage, they really aren't spelled out in the ordinance regarding setbacks and offsets, so I did not, they're pretty close to the lot lines. So there's your exit sign. This is an existing sign that's out there, so they're going to be replacing the face with this. I think in my report I say that it's on the east side. It's not. It's actually on the west side, near the entrance. This sign is 48 square feet in size, and it is internally illuminated. Let's see, there's other ones here that I'm missing.
Do we have other illuminated signs up there, right?
I believe so.
I couldn't tell you.
Well, it's on an existing cabinet. Was the
Correct.
previous sign
Yep.
illuminated?
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
All of these were, so then on the building, they're replacing 2 so on the south facade and the
East
west.
and west, both, there's 3 on
Oh,
the-
3.
Correct.
Okay, I just marked south and west. They're replacing existing sign cabinets, right, with
Yep.
these, and they will also be illuminated. And they are, depending on the size, so I've got the south-facing sign is 104 square feet, it's pretty big, and then the sign on the west facade is 48 square feet. And I completely missed the east facade, so I don't know how big that one is.
Well, was this Quaden Dodge?
Yes.
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 So I mean, it was a car dealership, and they had a lit sign for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're
so these
using
are
all-
all,
Just replacing
You're
the
using all the
facings.
same boxes.
Correct.
these are all
Yep.
replacement
Yeah.
cabinets. And then they have these small customer drop-off, customer parking, and they're labeled on the site plan. And then stop, no customer vehicles beyond this point. And those are labeled, I think it's on this plan, it's hard to see.
It is real tough to see.
And when you blow it up, it gets blurry.
It actually was really
At
clear
least in
on,
our packet.
it's clear on the PDF, just not on here.
My crayon version does point it out a little bit clearer.
But the customer drop-off signs are on this
Yeah, they're on
west
the
lot
perimeters.
line. This is customer parking,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then those not beyond this point is over here, and then there's also one on the way east side off of
Woodfield.
Woodfield.
So Amy had mentioned, when I read this map, I see it clearly labeled that the lane lines will be painted, but I couldn't find a call out that specifically said that the arrows would be painted. Is it?
Yep,
Does
wherever
it say
those red
that?
arrows are, those will be painted on.
Be painted,
on
okay.
site. Yep.
Okay. I just couldn't find it written down somewhere.
Mentioning the arrows, if you look on this one here, the entrance is on the right side, but on the, I think it's slide 231, I
Yeah.
think it is, they're flipped.
That was my mistake, yeah.
I
On
just
the
want to
crayon version,
clarify
yeah,
that.
This is legal and correct, and
Okay.
the other one was, yes.
All right.
And I'd say it all looks good and appropriate, and you're gonna be the judge, you have to manage, you have to wrangle all those cats in there. And you'll be the judge of the flow where the log jams are when you
Yeah.
actually flowing through there, so, I mean, assuming it's not gonna be perfect, you'll have to adjust it as you need to, but I think the signage looks great.
Yeah, I think you have a really good chance of managing it well with this layout, but I would like, I don't want to put a contingency on the approval. I would just like, maybe in the motion that we require staff to follow up in 12 months to just take a look at it and verify that it's working. Not that it has to come back to be reapproved or anything, just somebody go check it out and make sure it's working.
We'll take all the visitors we can get. So, by all means.
Bring a boat?
Exactly, bring and leave with one, so.
Motion to approve the signage as presented and in keeping with the city's illumination requirement and having staff follow up on this in 12 months.
Can I just add, I should have put this in here, approval of the signage and directional arrows.
Oh, that's true.
It's not really in there.
Yes, approving the signage and directional arrows as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for putting all that together. It made it easy on us. Okay, we're on to C, 10C, DLC 0755999018, 2480 Nagawicka Road. Owner and applicant Richard and Deborah Swearingen. Applicant seeks site plan and appearance review approval for the construction of an addition to an existing accessory building that exceeds the maximum size requirements. Name and address.
Hi, Rick Swearingen at 2480 Nagawicka Road.
Sounds good. And Amy, you got your work cut out for you.
Okay, so this is a 5.8 acre parcel. It's just west of Oakwood Park. If you look at the map on the screen, you can see it. It's accessed through a narrow strip. The property has a house, a detached garage, and a large outbuilding. The outbuilding is 2,000 square feet, and they are proposing an addition to that outbuilding. So if you look on this map, the outbuilding's on the north side. There's quite a bit of wooded area and topography between the house on the south side and this building. So they have a 2,000 square foot building. They're proposing a 1,296 square foot addition. So there's several renderings. He gave you guys 4 hard copies if you want to take a look, and we can go through these in a little bit, but I just want to show you the plan here. So the addition is this 36 by 36 area, and it will consist of horse stalls and then a tack room for supplies and a feed room for grain and bedding. The existing building, and the applicant is probably going to clarify, has been recently remodeled, and it includes a large open rec space with a fireplace. There's a kitchenette. It does have a bathroom in it. And
Are those
then,
bar stools?
Yes, they are.
Only Kent would pick those out.
The furnishings weren't figured out at the time.
Are those bars?
And then there's a room labeled conference room. The applicant has stated that it's not really used as a conference room. We have talked to him in the past about how it cannot be used for commercial purposes or for human habitation. And he has said that this is used for personal entertainment only, and that it does not have those living components associated with it. So the applicant is required to get plan commission approval. A barn or stable that exceeds 1,200 square feet does require your approval and is only allowed if it's 3 acres in size, which it is, if it holds livestock. And you can require, if you decide to approve it, you can require that the plan, that the applicant recorded deed restriction. So we can go through all of this. If you choose to approve it, I just recommend that at a minimum, you do have the applicant record a deed restriction, and that deed restrictions state that the accessory building, including the proposed addition, located on the north side of the residence shall not be used for human habitation or for commercial purposes. The building shall not be used as a commercial event facility, and the building shall be used for personal purposes only. And then 2, the building shall not be rented out for any purpose. 3, no further land divisions are permitted on the property. And 4, a deed restriction with the conditions contained herein shall be recorded with Waukesha County Register of Deeds.
Would that be a contingency prior to the building permit being issued?
Yes, so I wouldn't give Scott, I give him certification of compliance letters so that he knows when he can issue a building permit. So I wouldn't do that until that's recorded. I don't know, Scott, did you have anything to add to the staff?
You're going to need Dan's mic.
I have nothing to add.
I have some questions for you. Can you share your mic, please? So you've been the building inspector for a number of years. Any idea how we got this 2,000 square foot accessory building there in the first place?
No, but it was very old.
And you thought maybe it was built in the early 90s?
It's just a guess.
Yeah.
I really, when we bought the home, we had no documentation of it, just the remodel of our residence.
Would you expect that the city would have documents, Scott, that would show where and when that was approved, if it
should.
post 1970?
I'm not sure how good our record keeping is or was prior to a certain date, and I would guess that date being around year 2000.
Residential lands are only required to be kept on file for 4 years from the date of completion of construction. So if we have it, it's probably a lucky have, but we had a mass exodus of things that we didn't need to have, 10 years ago maybe, 8 years ago.
But because planning commission approval would have been needed for that, at least as the code reads today, that would be in the planning commission records, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't there be something at the Register of Deeds too?
Not for
a building.
buildings.
Not for buildings?
Is this
I'm
lot
just
served by a
curious, because
septic
we've
system?
got this big thing there
It is,
now,
yes.
and now we're trying to make
Yeah,
it
with
bigger.
septic and well, that was put in this year.
So we might be able to find the date the permit was issued by asking the Waukesha County Environmental Health when they got septic approval for the, is there septic tied to this building? There must be, you have
Correct, yes.
bathroom.
Mhm.
So maybe we can figure that out?
Well, there might be a PSC approval letter that goes way back.
Yeah, I believe I sent off, prior to this, when we were looking at it as a detached building, sent off the PSC for that we got from the city.
Yeah. So we would be looking for one from the construction of the 2,000 square foot building.
There's probably minutes.
Oh, yeah.
We could probably find, you found minutes?
No,
Oh.
there's a good chance that there's minutes that reference the tax key, but not probably detailed plans or anything that would go along with it. If you can email myself if you would like me to find it.
Yeah, I'm just curious what we did to, how did we get to this spot?
Yeah.
So then, and were there any restrictions at that time that were put on the building that maybe we would want to be aware of before we took action on this? Just a thought.
I have a problem with putting livestock next to what I would consider like a family rec area. Have you ever had horses before?
We have not had horses before. We do have horses now, of course. But I can tell you that right now we share horse stalls with our neighbor. So, yeah.
It's a barn.
Yeah.
It's a really nice barn. I mean,
It is
you always
nice-
have parties in a barn.
It is a nice barn. It's just the mixing of humans being entertained with having horses.
It's better than most barns I've seen.
Yeah.
I've been to lots of parties around here where there's
My
people
cousin-
serving food. There's
my
not a
cousin
wall,
lives in
and
a
there's the
barn.
horses right there.
My cousin lives in a converted barn, but she has a separate barn for her horses because they do attract a lot of flies, a lot of odors.
Yeah, our horses are pretty spoiled. So yeah, they're clean. Their stalls are cleaned twice a day.
Yeah, but the flies are still fine.
The design, the way that it was designed was to have the tack room as a dividing room from the from the current barn to any livestock. So
And-
so there's an enclosed tack room that would be.
When you clean, where is the manure going to go?
Right now, we keep it in a pile between the neighbors and our own. So we really, all of our neighbors have had or have horses. In fact, we're part of the Friends of the Equestrian Trail that was started to help clean up the equestrian trail.
Okay.
So we go out and manage the 4 miles.
I'm
of
not
that.
opposed to livestock. I grew up.
I grew up with livestock as a youth. Yeah, I had a pony when I was a kid, but that was, it was just it's only been recently, and because of the property that we got the horse.
I think it fits in real well with the 5 acres, barring any issue with what you brought up, Kim.
Yeah, well, I think then this is a good time to apply those restrictions formally, and then they're documented, right?
Good point, whether
whether,
Yeah.
whether we can find
Whether
anything or
it's-
not, it exists.
Let's do it now.
And I'd say too that I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, we had an applicant not too far from here who was looking to subdivide a similar type of lot, creating a flag lot. And one of
Yes,
the
we
points
did.
that was made is that there's not a lot of lots, there's not a lot of properties that afford you to be able to keep horses this close to, I mean, you're a mile and a half from a Culver's and you're a mile and a half from a school, and I mean, these lands are disappearing, so enhancing it to enable this to continue is, I think, a good
Yeah,
thing.
I think it fits in real nice. I'm assuming you don't see this from the road?
No.
No, it's not
Yeah, it's
visible.
set back far.
And
5
this is the
acres.
same property, I think we wrote that one property code adjustment so that they were able to stay on septic when they sold the property as opposed to having to connect
Oh,
Yes.
I
yeah.
vaguely
to the
remember
sewer.
that.
Yeah,
It looks much better now.
yeah,
Because it was gonna be whatever it was,
Right.
$150,000 to run the sewer line up there.
right.
And we said, that was very expensive that we would allow it to stay on septic
Right.
versus having to be required by the existing code for all other properties in the city to connect to sewer.
I'd say 90% of the people who own this property would want to put more people and not more houses on it. I mean, not more horses.
Not more horses, but people.
I knew what you were
yeah.
saying. Sure.
So I think
I
it's
just
a
have
good-
another question for you. I mean, we're gonna put this restriction on here, but when I do pull up this property on Google Maps, it says that Mortison Photography and Design operates
That's
out of
my
the barn?
business. It doesn't operate out of the barn. That's my business.
Okay. Yeah, okay, because it got the little dot thing right over your
Yeah,
barn.
No, we have a location in Waukesha, and because originally there was a thought for that but obviously that was stricken, and we've moved on from it and made it just to continue on with the construction of a nice gathering place. I have my in-laws have handicaps, and it worked out well because we could you can easily go in and out. Our house has a sunken living room and things like that. But no, we don't operate a business out of it. We have deliveries, occasionally frames and things like that. But our business is now primarily. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, our business is primarily commercial business outside of the residence anyway. It used to be corporate studios, but we still have our location in Waukesha. We might consider there's a location that's opening up because of the restrictions. That's opening up south of Nagawicca as a lease. There's a building there that's up for lease right now.
So you don't operate a
No.
business out of
No, we
there?
don't.
You
And-
might
and
want
have
to
no
contact
plans to.
Google Maps and get them to update your listing
Yeah.
then.
I can do that. I work with Google. So.
Yeah.
It is a nice looking building.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice looking.
Rick, how many horses do you plan to keep?
There's really three.
3 is the max for
yeah,
that size property.
Right. There's ours and our neighbor. So we're kind of it's a little bit of a collaboration there. Our neighbor goes out of state for winter, so we keep their Frisian there over the winter.
Where are the horses now?
They're at our neighbors.
Oh, they're at your neighbors, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't have stalls on your property at the moment.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I had two questions. To the, I guess it would be the northeast, that farmland, what is that zoned? Is it agriculture right now?
Northeast.
That's-
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I think it's the park.
Yeah.
It is A1E. It's part of the focus group project.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is north of Oakwood.
So it's A1E, it's agricultural, exclusive agricultural, but it is part of the focus group recommended for change.
Probably not until September or October at the earliest.
Do we have a recommendation yet of what it would be, or?
From the focus group?
Yeah.
It's potentially commercial/industrial along 83 to medium density to lower density.
Okay.
A transition east to west.
And in the existing building, there's no stalls?
No.
No, okay, so you're
No,
adding.
right. The addition is what would be the stalls and the tack room. And
So a former farm boy from Nebraska question, where are because we had a lot of horses back, where do you, I don't see any, you don't need a pasture per se, but how do they
Are they in the
corral
barn
or
all the
something?
No, they
time?
do need a pasture. It would be in the back. So on the back side of that, I don't know that you can see it from the aerial photos that were taken. That should be on that as well. Would show the backside. So we currently share as well the neighbors pasture. We have two neighbors that have pastures for their horses.
So are you putting a fence up, or there's no corral right now, right? Or
No.
Is that part of the plan? Is
Correct. Yes. It's visible in the one drawing.
One
So
of the
that's-
drawings does show the fencing?
Yes.
Yeah.
The backside. It was prior, I believe it's screen 3 or so.
Yeah.
So
So I know I did not look at any fencing.
I would just say
it's the
you have to
drawing.
have it. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to approve stalls, I don't know if we get into fence approving. I don't know, but
We do.
you have to
Depending
have.
upon-
You
Keep
can't.
going, oh, if you go the other way, you had it up
Up?
there before.
Yeah, it was prior.
Yep,
It-
go up,
it's
go
the-
up, keep going.
I believe it's the third image up, all the way up.
There it is.
There it is.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you want signage, you have to work with Scott. If it requires plan commission approval, we would need it delineated.
Fencing, you mean?
What did I say?
Fencing.
Fencing, we would need, you would need to show it on a
We won't
site
be putting any
plan.
sailboats on.
That looks really tight around the structure, like 10
That's a dry
feet.
lot, so you have to have a dry lot for the horses.
Yep.
They can't graze all day or they
Right.
get sick. So what you're seeing would be the dry lot. Then the pasture would be behind that dry lot.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So we could approve the building, but the fencing would have to be a
Contingent on the
separate permit
fencing
with
being
Scott.
approved at a future
Yeah.
planning commission meeting?
That's a city permit application, isn't it, for fencing?
I know Scott would know better, but certain fences need to come to the plan commission and some are approved by the building inspector only.
If not more than 4 feet high and at least 50% open, you just come to me and get a permit. If it's greater than that or more solid, then it
Comes here.
can be allowed in the rear yard, not in the setback areas. If you want to get closer to the property line or in the side and front yards, then you're coming to plan commission.
Yeah.
Or taller.
Okay.
Would the fencing
No.
all be wood construction? The wood posts and the wood cross members?
That would be the current plan. It's whatever is safest for the horse. We actually are considering it's the base to be more like a chain link style, but it would still be a post fence. But horses can, they can actually get up in there and get injured. So, we may that was not visible on this plan. It came in after that when I had a discussion with my wife about the plan for the fence. But currently, it would be the post. We just kept in line with it. The neighbors had the post and just kind of and I know that down Nagawicca it's very similar to over by you where with the black posts, the black post.
Do you have a motion?
Okay, motion to approve the barn addition. Where's at 2480 Nagawicca Road as presented this evening, conditioned upon what are we calling, a deed restriction, including the 4 items or the 3 items in the planner's report, and conditioned upon getting city approval for the fencing, either through the building inspector or the plan commission.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
Just one question on those conditions. I was trying to find it in the package. The one is the non-commercial, right? You can't. There's no commercial.
Yep, that's all in
That's
those.
in there.
There's 4 of them.
No more
Well,
land
there's
divisions.
3, the 4th one says it's a deed restriction.
It's going to be 236.
236. Okay, that's all. I just want to ask about the
Sure.
commercial.
No rent.
Commercial's covered, no rental.
No more divisions.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Passes.
Giddy up.
Sounds good.
That's good.
Hope the bar works out well for you.
Oh, boy.
I do too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to 11, comprehensive plan zoning and ordinance revision, discussion and possible action on the following items. DLC 0798954 and DLC 0798953, 124 Genesee Street. Owner Michelle Kelly, and DLC 0798892, 600 Poplar Path. Owner City of Delafield, applicant City of Delafield. Consider adoption of a modified resolution that would recommend approval of an amendment to the 2030 comprehensive plan, text specific to the central business land use category, and expand the central business land use category with a special use area number 1 designation on the land use plan map. The Delafield Cemetery would also be modified from the medium-density residential category to the institutional category.
Okay, so at the last meeting, you guys adopted a resolution to send to Common Council for consideration to amend the central business text, creating that special use area, and then also extending that area to the south along Genesee Street. So the matter went to Common Council, and there were 3 of the subject property owners that spoke against the request of their own properties being amended and the strip at large, with the fear that, as you know, if their neighbors build in a commercial manner, then it's essentially forcing them out over time. There did not appear to be any disagreement with the dental office proposal on the southernmost property.
Or the cemetery.
Let's not forget about the cemetery, or the cemetery. And then there's the question of, it was brought up that the property owner to the south happens to also own the adjacent property north of them. And so the applicant that will come forward at a future date for the dental office would like to see both of those properties be amended with the land use plan. My only comment is, if it passes here tonight and it goes to council, and for some reason that the northern parcel of the 2 is declined again, it gets kicked back to you each time. So the applicant or the owner of the southernmost property would need to understand that if they really want to push that and you approve it, it could continue to come back and forth. The Common Council can't change, they can't adopt an ordinance that modifies your resolution. They have to send it back to you. So right now, I had drafted a new resolution which only includes the legal description of both of these 2 properties and the cemetery. If you want to only approve the southernmost property on Genesee Street, I think you can just adopt the resolution subject to the modified legal description to only include the southernmost property, and then I would just make that change before going to Common Council.
So I'd just like
Does
to
that make sense?
Oh, you done?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just want to reframe this whole process for us. This came up because of the land use, recommendations. And I think as a group, and Amy in particular, we've really worked to try to, with the neighbors, and this is unique in the sense that we were rezoning some of their residential, or changing the land use on some of their residential properties and adding the business component. And at first, our first planning commission meeting, we had some objections and they weren't able to participate. And then we had meetings with them, and if you recall the next planning commission meeting, we had folks come in and support the change that we were recommending. Well, then we approved it, and in that time, and it went back to the Common Council for approval, some minds changed back the other way. So it's been a challenging one, and we're getting our way through it, and we'll continue to get our way through it. But that I just want to reframe that for everybody. That's kind of how we got to here where we are. Tim certainly can put your input in. You were at the Common Council meeting. I don't remember anybody's having any specific objections to this property owner being able to do both of her properties. I'm not sure it was black and white conversation, yes or no, but I don't remember anybody objecting to it. And I would just say that this applicant owns both those properties, And she sees an advantage to the recommendation that was made by the economic development team, and she wants to take advantage of it. So I think we should give that strong consideration.
Yeah, I'd say during the council's deliberations, and I said that when the plan commission, when we met, that there's two different roles. And I brought it up again in the council meeting, that we looked at what was a good plan from a planning perspective, zoning perspective, land use plan. And I think what ultimately, and then from the council standpoint, it was, okay, now is everybody on board? And they weren't, and so then is the council supposed to be in a spot to compel someone to change zoning on their own land when the city is the petitioner to do it? And the council thought no, despite rationale, and I think that the general consensus of the people that spoke against the rezoning was that they were looking for
Land use amendment.
The land use amendment, yeah, sorry. They were looking forward toward, okay, we're not interested in resale value in 2, 5, 10 years. We're looking at the lifestyle indefinitely. And a threat to that would be a cascading effect of someone in the middle, or someone just all of a sudden they sell their property, or their kids sell their property when they retire or leave. It would disrupt that lifestyle they were buying into. And however, there was a consensus that it's the one property on the end that makes sense. It hasn't been developed, and go nuts. It's your property, and so I understand the risk of saying to take them both today, and there'd be nothing to stop follow-up application from the landowner themselves to do the adjacent property in sequence to avoid the potential risk of a denial at council and coming back. I would think that the denial at council would be unlikely. I don't think it's our position really where we should be saying speculating and gambling at this point, but because they're bookended. I mean, you've got Town Bank, and then you've got the cemetery or the road either way, and you'd have a dental office that's tastefully done, and it looks like it fits into a residential neighborhood. So either way, they're in the same situation, whether both properties are involved or only one is. So I'd be inclined to move forward with both properties, but to eliminate all and any risk of a denial at the council.
So I just want to bring up,
it might make sense to move the applicant's or the city's petition to rezone that one property on the corner, because it's really the city doing it.
Follow up next month with the next one?
If the applicant themselves wants to petition for their own property instead of the city doing it, let them do it. But I think moving forward with the southern property makes sense.
Did something change?
Yes.
We don't know.
Besides their minds?
I think it was a learning process, to be fair. I mean, it was an evolution of what their initial reactions were to say no, and then some rethought saying, yeah, no, we would have more flexibility, and then some more realization and just more collaborative thinking, and maybe looking out for all of them together instead of one at a time. Where maybe one person might have said, well, this would really work for me, and other people saying, yeah, but not so much for me, and they just didn't want to cross that line with their neighbor. And I think so that's my impression anyway. But I think it was an education and evolution that happened over 4 or 5 months. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
There was no, I don't
because
think
if you
anyone was
remember-
strong-armed or there was any
No. Well, I'm not
offers
sure.
made or anything, But
That couldn't be refused, yeah.
like I said, I've always thought it's a good plan to offer the flexibility, but when it came down to the individual homeowners saying, I feel threatened by this, I don't think they should have to worry. So
Yeah, that was
let's
probably
not do
the
it now.
part, that's probably I agree, I think it's an evolution. I think it's easy when it's not my home, right, to talk about these things, but to me, the only disappointing part is I thought what we were trying to do, and I thought we had done a good job, is like maximize their flexibility to control their own fate. And at the end of the day, unless for 3 generations they continue on, I thought we were putting them in a position to have more value in their real estate someday, right?
Right.
It doesn't mean the house gets torn down, doesn't mean it changes radically. I thought but somehow that got lost, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I like your suggestion, break it up into 2 pieces, so, because the applicant just said, an hour ago, look, I'm gonna keep renting that for now, so that's not like they're they've got a burning platform that they need that redone right away, right?
Yeah, right. And I bet there's one or two other people that would be open to
Right.
want the rezoning, but they're just, on behalf of their neighbors, they're saying, no, I'm good the way it is.
Keep the peace for now.
And
Sure.
so, but like I said, I think some of it was, the city was petitioning on the property owner's behalf to make the rezoning. And that's interesting to a lot of people. There was no big conspiracy, but it came across that way, I think. And I think if we do the one piece, and if the landowner wants to do their piece on their own behalf next, I think that might be a sensible approach. And if maybe someone else will want to jump on board that too. I don't know.
See, I thought that we were changing it for the future. Because.
We were.
Yes.
Changing
And we
the
let the
land use,
homeowners, more or
Right.
less dictate what that change was going to be. Amy
I
met
would
with
think it would
them.
also change the master plan for that area. I keep going back to, I have lived here 49 years. When I came here, we were just hovering at 3,000 people. We have never stood still. I was at the first master plan, and when I look back 10 years ago, and I thought, oh my gosh, almost everything in that plan happened. It was like a long-range view of the possibilities. And that's what I thought this was, is that we were taking a long-range view, because I remember when Town Bank was built, I talked to the man who owned the house on the south end. There were two houses that were torn down and that bank was built. And he told me, I asked him why he sold, because he had just put on a big addition. And he said, I got more money for my property than I could if I would have sold it myself. In other words, when it went commercial, he got more than double for it. So I'm thinking, in time, because I can see the progression here over these years, 49 years that I've been here, that I thought that we were planning for the future for this. It wasn't like somebody's going to come in tomorrow and tear down your house and put up a building. It just gives the city an idea of where the possibilities are that we can go. And for them to think, if we all got together and we wanted to, or we could set it up where only the ones on the ends would come into that zoning as they were sold. Because, hey, I've lived here all these years, and I know I'm not going to be here for another 49. And whatever happens in my house is going to happen. So that's kind of where I am. I'm kind of more focused on that future, because I did go back. I listened to every meeting since January. I read all the citizens' comments all the way from January for Plan Commission, and I watched the last Common Council meeting, and I was stunned because I thought that everybody was on board, that the neighbors were on board, and all of a sudden there was a shift. And I'm wondering if they are under the misconception that this is going to definitely happen. We're going to usher you out, There's going to be so much pressure, you're going to need to get out. And I don't think that the way we were doing it was that it was going to be some big commercial building, that it was just that if somebody wanted to do an in-home business, that they could, very low intensity. Just like me, if I sew. If I all of a sudden said, hey, I want to start doing tailoring for my house, and I lived there, I'd want to be able to do that. It doesn't mean I'm going to have 15, 20 customers coming a day. And even in my neighborhood, I have 2 businesses. I never see anybody coming to those businesses.
So I think if I can just, it is intended to be a long-range visioning amendment. It is an amendment to the comprehensive plan. We are not proposing to rezone any properties at this time. So it really was an amendment to the land use plan. I've talked to the people directly impacted multiple times, and I don't think I could make it any clearer what the intent was. We met with them and talked about how rezoning would be done on an individual basis and a conditional use, which would require like a double public hearing in order for every single property to go through. So I think if it's not understood, at this point, I'm not sure there's much more that could be done to make it more understood. And I did explain the process and the purpose at the Common Council meeting, and they did turn it down. So, I mean, you're in a position now where you either need to modify it or it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. The only thing I'm worried about with just doing where that she wants her dentist's office and she owns the house next door, is that it would be considered spot zoning, which you can do.
We've been told, Amy has an answer for that.
Yeah, but according to my handbook from the state is that it's not always illegal, but you can't do it solely for the benefit of one property owner because they can be challenged.
So we've had many conversations with the previous city attorney, not the current city attorney, and his analysis of that is when you go through a planning process, which we have done in depth with the whole focus group effort and tons of public participation, this was a recommendation for the area, and that gets modified through a thoughtful process, then you really can't, it really doesn't fall within that spot zoning. A spot zoning would be some random person coming in on an agricultural field in the middle of nowhere and saying, I want an industrial lot, and you zone it just because that's what they want. But we did not do this just solely because somebody wanted to put in a dentist office. This was thought out before that was even an idea as part of the focus group. It is, we've had multiple meetings, we've met with the neighbors, so I do not believe it would be under that argument.
Right.
Nor do I believe anyone's against the dental office itself being
that's not what I heard.
constructed.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just so you know, when Marcia's not here anymore, I don't believe, but one of the neighbors affected did tonight. I think there's a little confusion because the public hearing was actually based on creating CBD4 district, not this property. But she did object to the rental property being amended. So if it got passed here, I mean, those objections are going to go to, I would assume, go to council as well.
Sounds like
So just keep that in mind.
there's not disagreement about Tim's idea, right? That we
No, I don't
just
think,
move forward and make a motion?
I don't think so. And I would predict that given time, I think some of the basis of the objection in general was that this was being imposed on people as opposed, that's the impression.
Yeah.
As opposed to being a grassroots, hey, this is a great idea. And because I don't think there's any lack of understanding. I don't think there's any ignorance or anything involved in that. I think it's time to digest and dealing with multiple people. And a lot of people thought dredging the entire lake was a good idea until you actually put a plan together. I think.
So should we move
fighting
forward with this?
I think so.
Yeah,
And it would just be that empty lot then that we would be redoing?
I think that makes the most sense today.
Okay, not the rental unit.
So your motion would just need to, if you adopt the resolution, excluding the northern property described in the resolution.
Northern or?
It's the northern one that's excluded. I can look.
Yeah.
Is that the address one? 124, I wasn't sure, okay.
I don't have any idea what the lot address would be.
It doesn't have one.
Yeah.
So.
It would be the tax key number?
Oh, it's not in here.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me do that.
I think you'd have to go by the tax key.
Do we need to list both those tax IDs, the vacant lot and?
Well, you want to take one out, I think, based on the conversation?
Of the edited,
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So let me just quick.
I think 5-4 is the house.
So it's excluding DELC 0798954 would be excluded. DELC 0798954 is excluded from the resolution.
Yeah, so it would be the 5-3?
So it would be, yep. So that
That's what I
953 is this big one.
5-3 is the dental, where she wants the dental. I do have that.
And I also like the whole spot zoning, this is a land use plan amendment. It is still an extension to that downtown area. There's just a void. There's a small void based on comments from the neighbors. it's not too random.
Okay, so we don't have a resolution number that will come up when it goes to council. Is that right?
If you adopt the resolution, then
It'll get
Molly
it.
gives it a
And
number.
we're recommending it to council.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to recommend the resolution in the packet for the
Well,
land
you,
use.
hold on, you adopt the resolution
Oh.
for, to be considered by common council. They actually adopt an ordinance. They don't
Oh,
adopt
let's
this.
do that. So I'll adopt the draft I move to adopt the draft resolution in the packet as written excluding DELC 0798954 and recommend to council for their steps.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention passes. You're on the move again.
June, I want to say June 20th. No, yes. June 20th.
Alrighty, we'll move on to 11B, City of Delafield Text Amendment to Zoning Code. Discuss and provide a recommendation to the Common Council regarding text amendments to the zoning code for the creation of a new central business zoning district, CBD4, and related provisions. Amy?
Okay, so this does not apply to any particular property at this time. This is the creation of a new zoning district in your zoning code. So I'm drafting the, pretty much drafted the text in here. I didn't draft an ordinance that you recommend to council because if you tweak this, I actually have to add a whole bunch of sections because the CBD1, I talked to the city attorney, the way that in order to keep the CBDs together in the code, we're going to reserve the current sections that have CBD1, CBD2, CBD3, and move all of them to the end. Otherwise, we have to, it's a ton of writing and redoing the sections of the code. So I'll have to do that as part of the ordinance if you guys recommend this. But otherwise, what I have in here is what's been discussed at the previous meetings. It's section 52111. It's a new paren AF with all of the CBD4 provisions. I did add, I just want to see if I,
Let's see if I got it.
minimum building floor area, I actually matched some other districts. I didn't have anything in here regarding 2 families or 1 family. I mean, because this could very well be a residential zoning district. So I think I just matched R4, which was 1 or 2 family, the minimum requirements. And then if it's accessory to a commercial use, those numbers are much smaller because they'd likely be 2nd-story apartments. Signage regulations are as indicated in the signage provisions, except no sign shall exceed 12 square feet. And then off-street parking, this matched this CBD2 district. I think I actually have to, I think I might have to tweak this a little bit. This was a summary from my last meeting where I say, in the CBD district, the Plan Commission may allow a landowner to meet the parking requirement. That intent will be maintained in the ordinance we recommend to Common Council, but that, I have that drafted in here as a note, not the actual language. So the way it will read is the Plan Commission may allow a landowner to meet the parking requirement, but by providing the required parking stalls either on-site, on another privately owned site owned by the same property owner, provided such stalls are within 800 feet of the site. And then the Plan Commission may allow a landowner to meet the parking requirement by paying a downtown parking fee set and established by the city. Such fees shall be determined by the city based on the cost of providing public parking stalls and may be changed periodically as the cost of the city for providing parking stalls changes. This just matches the CBD2 language.
Right, and we use that language from the art studio across from Holy Cow. We use that language.
Soul Fire.
So far, yeah.
And then I think I added a setback from the ordinary high water mark, because that wasn't in there, but if this were to ever be created in another area, you could possibly be on the water, so that's 50 feet to match other districts. I added the CBD 4 to the summary table at the end. And just so you know, in that table, Scotton found an error in the R4 road setback, so I made that tweak. It's just an error. It should have been 25. So I just want to make sure that gets corrected. And then I just add CBD 4 to a couple of those sign section paragraphs that refer to different districts.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Good job. It's a lot of work.
So is this, maybe I'm missing it, does this include anything about, there was discussion about access to Genesee Street? It's not part of this. Or is it?
There were, I had, okay, so if you get a conditional use for a commercial operation, the following conditions may apply. There was something in there about Genesee Street. You guys we struck it at the last meeting.
Okay.
So now it just says the type of business and number of employees is limited to available access and parking to the site. These provisions will be determined at time of conditional use issuance.
Okay, so that would be controlled on a case-by-case basis
Yes.
based on the site. Okay, all right, that works just as well. Better, actually.
Comments, changes, tweaks?
This looks good.
Well, I like the idea that we can do something like this where there's that blending of commercial, residential overlap, where we don't have that flexibility right now. We've got, I mean, the example I used in the council meeting was the auto detailing place right on Milwaukee Street, right between two houses. And that's because those are zoned a certain way to begin with. If they were zoned this way, there'd be a lot more control over that blend. And that wouldn't have been able to go there. I like the way I like it there, but it would have enabled something else. So I think it's a good, we'll be surprised where it's used else, in the future, but I think it's needed.
We have places, we've got the tax place over here, we got Billy Brown Insurance, Rickety Robin. Those are all houses that were turned into businesses.
That adds to the city character having those
It
kind
does.
of
I
environments.
really like those, and I look for those places when I go to other cities, because many times they're very unique. They handle things that nobody else does.
So full disclosure, the lot area and width, which are 15,000 square feet and 45 feet in width, are based on the lots on this strip. It's just really hard to analyze the other areas. So it's possible that if there's another area in the city that's really appropriate for this zoning district, we may need to relook at that. And then maybe we're specific about lot size and width based on particular areas. And then Jacob, who is one of the owners of this Genesee Street strip, did bring to my attention that, and we haven't talked about it at all, so I'm not dealing with it here. There's the Delafield downtown district, I guess you want to call it, the design pieces that go with your downtown districts, which Yola was subject to. It describes the area that it applies to, and he had said that it's an incorrect description of the area. So at a future date, we're going to need to map that out and make sure that there's a dashed line on the zoning map that describes the area of the downtown district. We're probably going to have to look at that and the description and clarify.
My infamous statement, we'll add it to the list.
Yeah.
Which I haven't, so I'll have to do that.
If I'm correct, the design thing came about with the Lang campus. That's how that came about.
Okay. I'm sorry, I was listening to Amy and lost track. Do we have a motion and a second? Or no motion? We still waiting on a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the text amendments to the zoning code and as presented, and to recommend the same to council.
Yeah.
I'll
I'll second.
Second? Okay.
2 seconds.
Is there any discussion?
Aye.
2 seconds.
Hearing none. Laura?
I was the loudest.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Okay, moving right along to 11C, DLC 0781 989001 and DLC 0781 989003, owner Jag 2 LLC, DLC 0781 990003, owner Jag 1605 LLC, applicant City of Delafield. Consider adoption of a resolution that would recommend approval of an amendment to the 2030 comprehensive plan specific to the land use plan map so that subject properties are modified from the agricultural category to the medium density residential category in accordance with the recommendation of the Economic Development Land Use Focus Group.
Question. Are we allowed to do that without some of these lands coming in and we're redoing the land use for them?
What are you talking about?
Well, it seems like we're being asked to make an amendment to the land use plan on the map in accordance with the growth development. Can we do that, even though those lands we haven't discussed them and gone through the process yet?
This is the process. At the last meeting, we invited the property owners and anybody within 300 feet to attend last month's meeting for a concept discussion.
Is it just for this area? It's not for everything else that was in the growth committee?
No, so we're doing there are 6 areas that are being amended.
Right.
We're doing each one separately.
Okay.
And so tonight, what you would be doing is, land use plan amendments are a little opposite of zoning in that you make a recommendation to council and the public hearing actually occurs at council. So that would occur in June based on your recommendation because it's a city request. So the focus group is recommending to change these 3 parcels in red to the medium density category. There's a large area on the east side that's already, maybe this isn't the best map, but everything on the east side that's either yellow or orange is already medium density residential. So at last month's meeting, we talked about just changing the yellow on the west side of 83 to medium density. I don't believe anybody commented.
No, there were no comments, and the property owner was here and chose not to comment.
I didn't understand what we were doing.
Yeah, sorry.
Reading in the notes, they were talking, I wasn't at the meeting last month, so you talked about a buffer area or something, or trying to handle the transition a little bit better than just blatantly changing the zoning.
I think that's on the east side, right? Yeah.
So what we talked about, the focus group recommendation had a little more detail to it. So on the east side of 83, they want to see the density match the adjacent subdivision in the town of Delafield. They'd like to see this be done as a plan unit development. But we decided, or you decided at the last meeting, that just doing a straight land use plan amendment would be fine, and that the details of the development would be reviewed as part of it. It will require a rezone and potentially a conditional use if it is a plan unit development. Those details of where that density ends up and what form of development occurs would happen then.
Okay.
This is just that, again, that high level, what is the city envision in the future.
So the land use opens the door to medium density, but there's still a whole nother approval process to allow it to actually happen.
Okay.
I might have been one of many that brought it up, but it's one of my areas of concern is the very northwest corner of this. Are we talking just the red here?
Yellow.
Yellow.
It's the yellow on the
Go
west
back to
side.
the one with the
side right there, the very
So the
northwest
west-
corner.
We're only talking about the west side of 83.
Yeah, so the
That
very
red
northwest
box.
corner where you're abutting people's 2-acre lots, right? I mean, so if medium density is right there, we have to really highly scrutinize the plan that's going to be in their backyard.
Right, and we will.
And that's the next. that would be either zoning or the site plan.
Right.
And it's probably going to be a plan unit development, I don't know, but no matter what, it's agricultural on the land use, or zoning map. So they would need to amend the zoning.
Okay.
Which is our stick.
Yeah,
right?
Yep.
Isn't
And
that where the
another
big
public
hill is
hearing.
too, right there?
Yeah, that's a big hill.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. No, that's true too.
yeah. Okay.
I'll make a motion that it's easy for me to just say 11C as written.
There you go.
A motion to approve, and we're recommending this to council, correct?
I believe so.
Adopt the resolution in 11C as written and recommend to council. That's my motion.
I'll second it.
Bob had the second. All right, is there any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. All righty, we are on to 11D, discussion and initiate zoning code text amendment to modify the deadline for matters that are considered by the planning commission and schedule a public hearing for the same. Amy?
Okay. I am recommending that the Plan Commission and Council consider modifying the deadlines in the ordinance, so they're specified in several areas of the code. Right now, the way the code reads, you have to submit an application 28 days before a conditional use application, or hearing. You have to submit plan development conditional use applications 30 days in advance of a meeting. And you have to submit text amendments or district boundary amendments 15 days in advance of the meeting. So for one, the 15 days in advance of the meeting doesn't even work because we have to notice it in the paper for 2 full weeks. And there's a publication deadline, so it won't meet it doesn't meet the statutory requirements. And then the code also says that the deadline is 15 days in advance for any application to appear before the Plan Commission. So having worked here now for 2 years, and working here, pretty part-time, it's very challenging to meet these deadlines and meet the deadline for Molly. So this is just a sample. I think I have August calendar, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But the 31st would be the Plan Commission meeting date. My reports are due to the clerk on Wednesday. And so the deadline right now would be, so Wednesday the 24th, my deadline for applications to come in is the 16th. That's the deadline to have a complete application. So a lot of times these are coming in on the deadline. And so I have to look at them, review for completeness right away. They are typically not perfectly complete. And then I have 1 week to get the correct information, write my staff reports, and prepare the entire packet for Molly. And it's just very, very challenging because I do work in other communities during that time frame.
Yep.
And then if there's a public hearing, those notification dates would be, for example, here on the 16th and 23rd, and it has to go to the paper on the 11th. So with that, when it goes to the paper and it gets published, that has to be available to the public right away, the full, complete application. So same kind of thing. I need to have time to get additional information from the applicant. So to simplify things, I recommend just a straight up 28-day deadline for all applications. Now I know that does change regular Plan Commission items for signs and BPOs from three Tuesdays before the meeting to 4 Wednesdays. So it does add time to the applicant. I will say, interestingly, although BPOs and signs seem like they're really simple, signs are not because they're often part of a multi-tenant signage program, and there's history of the file that we also have to research. So signage can take a little time to review as well. And I usually need to do that when I'm here, and I'm only here on Wednesday mornings. So my proposal is a 28-day deadline for all applications.
I have always felt that things ran too tight, that they didn't give you enough time, didn't give the citizens enough time sometimes. So I'd be in agreement to what you wanted.
So we need to schedule public hearing for this?
If you want me to move forward with this type of a proposal, then yes, I would initiate the zoning code text amendment and schedule a public hearing. So you have to be the applicant, so you have to initiate the proposal and schedule a hearing.
So Molly, you're in concurrence that this would work for staff as well?
Yes, so my rebuttal to Amy and the previous planner that I worked with was that the deadline is the deadline and the document should be complete. That doesn't, it's never happened. I mean, I've been working with the planner, Delafield 1.0 and Delafield 2.0. So absent that occurring, because then I would say, okay, well then that person should be pushed to the next meeting. Well then that's even more time for the applicant as opposed to moving the deadline back and giving Amy the time that she really needs to get all that documentation ready. So I'm happy to support Amy in this endeavor.
So what it would do is it would give us a week to work with the applicant to get additional information before like the old deadline. So they would have a week to provide extra stuff.
Amy, what do other municipalities do? Do they have a similar calendar, or is it all
Yeah,
over the
so
board,
I'm
or-
the planner for the Village of Summit, and theirs is actually even more than this because they have a plan staff meeting in advance of every meeting where we bring up the applications, and then applicants have a whole week to submit, like plan staff will suggest changes, and then they have a week to submit those changes. And the deadline for plan staff is a week before that meet. I think it's like a 5-week, probably one extra week from here.
Well, if nothing else, this syncs things up because it's disjointed with the 15
Yeah,
days,
it
30
sure
days, and
is.
28
Gotta-
days.
Gotta
And
take
so-
care of that.
I mean, 30 days would be the easiest because it's really simple, but I thought the 28 days, it lines up with the Wednesday, the date of the meeting, and it's a fair enough time frame, and it's a little bit tighter than the 30, so.
It makes sense to me. And the only caution I'd inject in this is that there's a separate conversation going on with the idea of whether or not we should be acting on things brought up in a public hearing at the same meeting as a public hearing that's been going on. So just so that if anyone's asked that this is entirely separate, this is actually buying our planner and our staff more time to make sure packets are complete. And so it's going in the right direction.
I agree.
So if anyone is approached with that, I'm just throwing that out as a talking point that this is completely unrelated to acting on something that was heard at a public hearing in the same meeting as the public hearing.
So would we
Amy,
be,
does this mean with more time, our packets will go from 272 pages to
400?
350?
That's a good point.
Maybe next time.
I'd rather change it to 10 days than have a 20-page packet.
We tried. This was a huge packet, this meeting. It was a big one.
I've seen some bigger.
We tried to narrow it down.
I did see reduced on the title for it, so we appreciate that.
They will have less time to apply, so it should be shorter. I don't know.
Sold.
Reduce them all, or the website.
I know, yeah.
So would we be looking for the public hearing at the next plan commission meeting? Then I'll motion to approve to initiate zoning code text amendments to modify the deadline for matters that are considered by the plan commission and schedule public hearing at the next plan commission meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ed got it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Alrighty, we'll move on to 12, reports of city officials. A, planning commission meeting dates and deadlines. For now, regular meeting is June 29th, 2022. Regular meeting submittal deadline is June 14th, 2022. I'll refer you to any correspondence that were in the packet. Planner, anything in particular you'd like to bring up?
I think I'm good for now.
You're good. Okay. And last but not least, Mr. Building Inspector, how many new homes?
3 this month.
3.
There you go.
Wow.
That's much better than 0.
Yeah. Wow.
What are we at the year so far?
Oh, I don't know. I would say 10.
10 for the year so far.
That's really good.
All right, seeing no further business, therefore we are adjourned at 9:14. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Oh, no.
Here we go.